Skill 1 Activity 2. What this is designed for your objective is for students to identify and differentiate between equal parts and not equal parts, right? That's a very important concept when it comes to understanding what a fraction is. And that shouldn't take too long for students to understand, equal parts and not equal parts. Once that's been established, the concept of equal parts, then you're going to begin to introduce the proper language that will be used to identify wholes that are partitioned into equal parts. Not a lot of time is usually spent on this in sort of traditional fractions in math programs. So this is really giving them a good foundational experience, that their first experience with sort of fractional concepts is actually going to be in the form of one whole instead of focusing in almost immediately on half or 3/4. So you'll see how we'll build off it. And finally, developing the correct language, such as fourths, not fours, thirds, not threes, and halves, not twos. Okay. So when you go through the materials, the first thing you'll see is there are a bunch of shapes. And so what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and you can pull up two shapes that look similar to each other, okay? So we have these two shapes right here. And obviously you want to talk about, okay, which one of these, what's alike about these, what's different about them, like they're about the same size. They're both cut into pieces, but what's different? Obviously this piece is cut into equal pieces, right? If there were 4 people and you were sharing this, no one's going to be upset because everybody's going to be getting the exact same amount. There's 4 pieces here too, but obviously someone's going to be really upset who gets this piece right here. So obviously this one is a whole that's into 4 equal pieces, and this one is just a whole that's cut into pieces, but this can't be a fraction because the pieces are not equal. Again, you can pull up this one again and say, okay, let's take a look here. We have two shapes that look alike. This one's cut into 3 pieces. This one's also cut into 3 pieces. But what's the same about them? They're in the same 3 pieces. What's different though is this one obviously is in equal pieces or in fair shares. Remember, no one's going to be upset. If there's 3 people sharing this, no one's going to be upset. However, if someone was sharing this, someone's going to be pretty upset that they got this small piece. Someone's going to be really happy with that, and someone will be kind of happy with that piece right there. So again, going through and differentiating between, putting them into equal parts and not equal parts. And there's several other ones that are on there. And then you'll go through each one and differentiate between equal parts and not equal parts. That's not too hard. That's not too difficult. Even students who struggle with mathematics will do okay with that. One I want to take a look at is this one right here, though. Because sometimes what kids do is they look to see, like, okay, are the lines straight? Okay, if you take a look, these are, we have 2 lines that are straight. This looks like equal parts because it visually looks very organized. A lot of times when you're dealing with fractions that are not equal pieces, it's sometimes like a jagged line. It looks really obvious. But a student may say, yeah, look, that looks really neat. It looks really cut. But just because it uses straight lines, again, if you really look at each piece, this piece is much smaller than this middle piece and so on, and this one obviously is cut into 2 equal pieces there. All right, once you establish that, what you're going to want to do is start to develop the language now. This is a really important part. Not a lot of time is spent on this in traditional math programs, and a lot of kids have really bad language and terminology, and research has actually shown that kids who use the proper language have a better understanding of fractions. So that's why we're focusing so much on this, okay? So let's take a look right here, right? This is cut into how many pieces? This is cut into 3 pieces, right? And the proper way to say it is this is a whole, not cut into 3s. This is a whole that's cut into thirds, okay? And for this one right here, we'll say, okay, this is a whole, and let's take a look. How many pieces are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is a whole cut into 5 pieces. And again, it's not cut into 5s, it's cut into fifths, okay? And then this one right here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, that's not a whole cut into 4s. It's a whole cut into fourths. And right here, again, this is a whole cut into 6 pieces, not cut into 6s. It's cut into 6. So if you think about it, like 3 thirds, 4 fourths, 5 5, 6 6. But the most interesting one, the hardest one for kids to get early on, is actually halves, because they'll say it's cut into 2 pieces. So they'll say, oh, it is cut into 2s. And actually it's not cut into 2s. They'll tell them that it's cut into halves. And so again, you always want to refer to it as this is a whole cut into this is a whole cut into halves. This is a whole cut into 6. This is a whole cut into fourths. This is a whole cut into fifths. this is a whole cut into thirds. So one of their first experiences with sort of fractional, like a fraction, is actually with it within the context of one whole. And then we're going to kind of work from, okay, when we have a whole, and we're teaching them all about a whole, and the whole is partitioned into these equal parts, then we'll start to worry about the fractions that are less than one.